Hello and welcome. In today's exciting episode, I'll be using the McCall's pattern M7948. It's a new one, and I will be making some lovely summer dresses that are elegant, and well, that one pink is very cute too.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket. Apologies to those who wanted to see a Make a Chanel jacket video. Today, I still have to work on it, so I'll finish that on Saturday and you'll see it on Sunday. So at the start of this month, I did a pattern haul, and this was one of the patterns, McCall's 7948. And in the first sewing vlog, or second sewing vlog of this month, I did the pink one. These were the other dresses from that sewing vlog, the pink one. And I did the puffy sleeves, and I was like, I love the dress, but I'm going to make it again, either sleeveless or with the plain sleeves that come with the pattern. I do love these sleeves. I think they're adorable, but I think they're more of a party dress, or, you know, it's very flamboyant. I still have to put a hook and eye in the back. I do have some press stud things as well, snaps, but I think I'll do the hook and eye. The problem with the hook and eye is this is a pull-on dress, so you pull it over your head every time you put it on to take it off, and I've got really long hair, and I don't know, no matter how careful I am, they always get caught in there. So I could do a button, I guess, and just make a loop, but I think I'll do a hook and eye. I just haven't done it yet. Anyway, this is the dress. It's adorable, but as I said, I wanted to do another one that was sleeveless. So I used this Liberty of London print. It's got historic, I think it's William Morris, the illustration is based on. Gorgeous fabric, and I wanted to use it in a single dress. And there's a little bit at the bottom because I just felt I only had 2 yards of this fabric, and I just found it was a tiny bit too short. It sort of hit the knee rather than going just below it. So I had this furnishing fabric. I had 1 yard of it. I bought it to make a jacket out of. But yeah, I cut it into strips and I put it around the bottom. The rest of this fabric is used in a layer cake dress and probably won't be finished till next month. But anyway, so I really love this dress, and then I was like, oh, actually I could do a black one. That would be awesome. So as you can see, just over hiding, it's trying to hide on the left there, is a plain black one as well. So when I made this one, I didn't you see that the shoulders, it's sleeveless, but they sort of go out right to the edge of the shoulder, and I didn't really like that. So the next time I made this black one, it's very Holly Golightly from Breakfast at Tiffany's, but what I did was I increased the seam allowance so it sits on my shoulder rather than sort of just the edge of my shoulder, and I much prefer this because I've got really small shoulders. So I like it. I don't know, it just makes me feel more like an adult if you can actually see that I've got a shoulder rather than, you know, a little kid who's wearing mum's clothes or something. So I do like both of them, but I like the this one here, the black one, better with the seam allowance, just, you know, it's the shoulders just a little bit further in. So I'm going to make one on camera like the black one, just so I can show you how to do it, and using the burrito method. So here is the pattern. In the pattern, you don't line it, you just use facing, and I absolutely hate facing. I think she looks gorgeous here, but I think the dress would look even better if you couldn't see the bits of facing, and the way to do that is to fully line it. So I'm going to do that. So yeah, if you want to do it, don't bother tracing out the facing pieces. All you need is the bodice front, the bodice back, and I'll tell you the measurements of the skirt as we go along. So some of you have asked, you like it when the YouTube sewers rolls the fabric out on the carpet, takes a whole shot of the entire room, and then lays the pieces down so you can see exactly how to cut your one bit of fabric. I cut mine on a bench, but I'll just do a scale model, and I'll show you what's about to happen, and then we'll do the real thing. So here we have a piece of fabric that's to scale 10 times smaller. So it's basically what 2 yards of fabric looks like if you shrink it right down, and that's the width, and 2 yards long. So we'll just pretend that's it for now. So what you do is with the ½ yard on one end, instead of just wasting fabric straightening it up, just cut off ½ yard, and you do the front in
and then cut it in half, is as long as your bodice piece fits in half of it. And for one, you do the front of the bodice and the other do the back. This one has a mustard coloured bird on it, which is quite cute. So this will be the front. So you fold it in half, cut the pattern, and then the second half will be the back. So this is your remaining fabric, and what you need is a front skirt and a back skirt that you can sew together to make the skirt. So because the print is directional, I would cut mine this way, fold it in half and cut it in half that way. But you could also, if it's not directional, or it's directional the other way, you could cut it in half. And this way you get a longer skirt, but it's slightly thinner. So it'll definitely go under your knee, but there won't be as much room around your hips if you like a sort of fuller silhouette. And yeah, a lot of prints are non-directional. So you can either do it that it's a little bit shorter and a lot fuller, or the, down under your knees but a little bit thinner. So it's your choice. I'm going to do it this way because my fabric is directional. So I fold it in half, carefully cut it in half, so I've got two even bits. Now that's my back half of the skirt, and this is my front half of the skirt. And then we have back half of the bodice, front half of the bodice. So now what you would do is pin them and sew them. So I'm just going to pin them and turn it inside out. And then I also pleated down the top to make it three-dimensional. So that's how you sort of reduce the bulk in a really neat way and make it look more vintage, is by pleating, but some people like to gather. And yeah, and then there's the bodice and there's the bottom of the skirt. So if you feel like your skirt isn't long enough, you can just add just cut a long strip from another fabric you have that's sort of matching or contrasting. And yeah, cut 4 inches or however much you want, but I tend to go with 4 inches or 6 inches. And then you just sew that whole long strip to the bottom of your dress, and it makes it sit up. So let's go make a life-size version. So as I said, I am lining this rather than doing the facing bits, and I'm just doing one tier in the skirt because, as I said, I've just got 2 yards of this fabric. So I'm not going to be, I will do the sleeves next month. I'll make one with sleeves because she does look really pretty in that dress. So I do want to do the sleeve one, but I've just had a few people asking about the burrito method, so I'll do that first. So I've got front bodice, left and right of the back bodice, and then the plain blue is my lining. So there we go. So I've got one set, is the outer bodice, and the blue is the lining. And as I said when I was doing the scale model, the rest of the fabric is about 1.5 yards, and mine is a very, very directional print, so I don't really have a choice about which way I'm going to do it. And it is a little bit short for me. It will fall on the knee, and I much prefer it when it falls a little below it. So I've got another fabric, and I've just cut a length of it that's 4 inches, 6 inches, whatever. And I just happen to have these 2 bits that are left over from a different layer cake dress. And I'm going to do the same thing I've done here. I'm just going to add a contrast, sort of matching, sort of contrasting. It's the same colours, but a very different type of print. So I'm going to sew that onto the bottom. But first we will do the bodice. And the first step of the bodice is you have to pin the left and the right backs together, but make sure you leave the top about 4 inches. That has to stay open because the neckline is so high. You need that space at the back of the center back so that you can slip it over your head. So yeah, make sure you don't sew it all the way up or you're just going to have to unpin it. So once you've sewed them together, so I've got a whole back lining and I've got a whole front lining. Next you have to lay the front and back outer bodice and front and back lining together, sew them together just at the shoulders. There's 2 notches on each shoulder. Make sure you match up the notches, not the edges, because it's the notches that need to, it sort of looks like it doesn't make sense, but once you've sewn it and you turn it out, they fit, but they don't look like they do. So just make sure that notches are matching up. Okay, so I've sewn them together, and the next step is to open out the bodice. So lay it out on the bench flat, right sides together, and then pin the neckline together. You're going to sew around the neckline, and then you're going to sew the 2 bits in the back center. But do the neckline first, get rid of all those pins there, and then you'll be able to do the other center back bit nice and straight without any distractions. So once you've machine sewed them, the next thing is to clip the curve so that when you turn it out, the neckline will sit properly. So once you've done that, you turn it out, and make sure you turn it out. Whenever I'm doing the burrito method, the first few times I did it, I kept forgetting this step to turn it out, and I couldn't figure out why I wasn't doing it properly. Anyway, so once you turn it out so that the right sides are outside, then the next step is to fold the lining under so that your right side is splayed, and your left side, then you just roll the left side in to the middle. So now if you see from the top of the screen, you've got your outer bodice, then you've got the whole left side, and then you've got your lining right bodice. And now you bring it over the top like a little burrito, and you join the seams together. This is the shoulder seam here. You pin them in place so that they exactly match. And then you pin the rest of the armhole all the way around, and then you machine sew it. And as I said, I want it to sit a little bit further in on my shoulder instead of like this one where it sort of sits right at the edge of my shoulder. So I'm going to sew a really deep seam line. I'll sew the normal seam line and then I'll sew my deeper seam line so you can see the difference. And if you've got normal shoulders or broad shoulders, then the way the pattern is probably fine for you. But if you do have very slight shoulders, narrow shoulders, then yeah, I recommend in your wearable mock-up, maybe do this one, or even use the Butterick 6677 bodice, which is, it's just cut a little bit further in. If you just want a pattern that you can use and not have to alter in any way, that might be an option. Anyway, so you can clearly see I've got the regular line, but then I went and did a deep seam that's like twice as big. And then I cut off the excess and then I clip the curve so that it'll sit correctly when I turn it out. And then you sort of put your hand up in between the 2 layers and you pull it out. And just go really slowly and gently, because you don't want to, this is the most frustrating part, absolutely, but you don't want to wreck the stitches that you just did. So just carefully pull the rest of the bodice through that tiny little shoulder strap, and then once it's done, lay it on the bench. Okay, so the right side is done, so now we have to do the left side. So you do the same thing all over again. You so you turn the lining underneath. So this is basically what it looks like, but the opposite. So you're basically spreading out your shoulder strap, and then you're rolling the other side of the bodice into the center, and then the lining and the outer, you have to make their shoulder seam meet. So you just pull it over, and then you just pin them together and make sure it's perfectly centered so that your shoulder strap is nice and straight. And then you pin the rest, and then you machine sew it.
Then once again, you have to trim down most of your seam allowance, and with the remaining bit, you just have to clip those curves so that it will sit nicely when you turn it out. You carefully pull all the bodice through that tiny little shoulder strap, and ta-da! The shoulders are done. Now you can press it at this point, but you still have to do the sides. But yeah, press it if you want, but you're just going to have to press it again once you've done the sides. So I do the sides first. So I pin the sides together. The left side here, we have the outer bodice front and back, and then on the right side we have the lining bodice front and back, and they meet, of course, under the arm. So you do both sides and machine sew. Then the next step is to open out the seams so that they lay flat, and press them, and then turn the bodice inside out. So you've got the lining in the correct way. So you've got the lining on the inside and the outer bodice on the outside, and those seams sitting nice and flat under the arm. So next step is the skirt, and I sort of went through that with my scaled down model. So it's just 2 big bits of fabric, and then I've sewn the strip around the bottom to just make it a little more interesting and give it a little extra length. So now we have to pin the bodice to the skirt, and what I do is just put 4 pins in the bodice, 4 pins in the skirt, match the quarters up, so sides, front to front, back to back, and then I do the same in half again and then in half again. So this is 16, and yeah, I feel like this is enough. So then I pinned the pleats down. What I did is a box pleat in the center front and a box pleat in the center back, and then the rest are knife pleats headed into the center. Like whether it's the front or the back, the left side goes into the center, the right side goes into the center, same for the back. Then I machine sewed it once, and then I did it again to reinforce it. And then the next step is to just pull the bodice, sort of turn the entire dress in the inside out, and then you tuck the seams of the skirt up into the bodice, then you pull the lining of the bodice over it, turn the raw seams up, and then you go along and you pin the lining down. This way all the raw seams are trapped inside and you've got a nice clean inside of your dress. And here we are, it is finished. It actually, because of the way the pattern is, it kind of looks like a layer cake dress from far away, sort of, not really. But and how cute does it look with the jacket on the sideboard? Yeah, I'm going to put the jacket on in a minute, but here we go. This is what the dress looks like without the tie on it. It's absolutely gorgeous, but it's even more so. Actually, this dress, I really like it with the tie and without the tie. Most dresses, I have a very definite opinion on whether I like it better with the tie or without, but this one I like it both ways. So now we are going to get this adorable tweed jacket in very similar colors, and we're going to put it on the dress. Here we go. See how it's picking up the flower colours and the colours of the birds and things? It is such a cute combination. It is so vintage. See, from back here, it really does look like a layer cake dress. But yeah, as soon as you get up close to it, you can see that it's just one big print and it's very sort of layered. But yeah, there we go. Dress done. I highly recommend this pattern. I am going to do like a bazillion more of these. Well, I think I've got my hook and eyes. I've got a pack of 10 silver ones and a pack of 10 black ones. And I've got 2 black dresses here and 2 where I can use the silver ones. So I think there's going to be at least 16 more summer dresses like this, because it only takes 2 yards of fabric if you don't do sleeves. And yeah, I love it. It's just such a gorgeous dress, and I've got so many cute prints. So yeah, I think I really love this pattern. I love it so much. I love the high neckline. I think it looks really elegant and beautiful, but also it's a pull-on dress, so it's so low maintenance, and it's not too uncomfortable if it's hot. But also in the cooler months, you can wear a long sleeve top underneath it and it can basically function as a jumper dress, which is awesome. I will next month. I do think if I have time, I will do the sleeves, because she looks beautiful in that dress. It just looks gorgeous. And I don't know if I'll do one with 2 tiers. I don't know. I've got so many layer cake dresses, really long dresses, and I've got quite a few layer cake dresses that are midi or, vintage length. So I'm really happy just making this dress. But I think all the variations on that pattern are absolutely adorable. And I guess at some point I will get to them. But for now, this is just such a cute dress. I just want to keep making it in all different prints because it's so cute. I love it. And the black one is absolutely gorgeous. It's so elegant. I love it. I'm going to go and eat a croissant and drink a black coffee in front of Tiffany's jewellery store. She looks so gorgeous in those Givenchy gowns. Anyway, that is the end of this video. So yes, I highly recommend this pattern. It is gorgeous. I love it so much. McCall's 7948, an absolutely perfect summer dress, or alternatively, a fabulous jumper dress as well for the months where it's not absolutely sweltering. And apologies again that this wasn't a Make a Chanel style jacket video. I have to do a little more work on that on Saturday, then you will see it on Sunday. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've been inspired to make a few more summer dresses of your very own, and happy sewing.